Today and over the next bunch of days, I'm gonna clean up my shed. Turn it into kind of a bar. Maybe put a kegerator in there. Maybe gear up a kegerator. You're welcome.
Party time brews. This song ain't no good, but we got nothing to lose. Party time brews. Here's another brewing clip. You can watch it if you choose.
But the first thing we need to do is clean it out. I think we're gonna have to take everything out of here, but let's take a look at what's in there.
So as you can see by me going over this, there's a lot of junk in there. We got a old chainsaw, 20-year-old wakeboard. We even got a slack line. No idea why I thought that'd be a good idea. So I'd like to say I kind of started cleaning, but I didn't really kind of clean. I just put stuff in a box and took it outside. Okay, so I got it kind of cleaned out here. Fridge is kind of in place. Kind of say kind of a lot. No problem. Looking good. Oh yeah. Shiza. Lots of crap outside to figure out if I want to keep it or not, but whatever. And now, using the technology of science, I've optimized my future kegerator position against the wall. A few skateboards to clear off and I'll be set. What I plan on doing is having a foot-wide countertop to the right of the fridge, finished off with one about 20 inches or so wide by the door. I'm a bit limited on space, but a counter is always useful. A sink would be more useful, but that's for another day. And I guess a counter was also for another day as well, because as I flawlessly narrate this bad boy, it is many months after the initial cleaning and I still haven't done the counter or framed it in. Speaking of framing, okay, maybe not framing, but let's talk about boarding in the wall. For this I used pallet boards. First I had to move all the electrical boxes out a bit so they'd be flush with the new boards when I put them on. Next it was just a long game of nailing them to the wall. Sadly, I didn't have near enough to do the shed, but at least enough to get the walls by the fetal kegerator and future counter done. And just like anything with a job well done, you have a big old bonfire with all your friends. Oh yeah! Huh. So in order to get this going, you'll need a big ass wrench or a spanner wrench for the taps, a hole saw, a drill, some Duotight line, you'll need some taps. Gotta have shanks to hook onto the taps. Duotight fittings, your couplers, I use Sankey, you can use ball lock or pin lock, some more Duotight fittings, and your regulator in CO2. Okay, so we got our plain ass fridge. You want to put the taps across there. The first thing you want to look at is what I'm going to do is find the easiest place to drill. It's nice and flat across here, so I'll probably start one tap possibly through this one, and then the other 4 across there, so it'll be 4 taps total. I may have to end up cutting this one out. Now it was time to mark up the lines. In this case, I took where the smooth part of the fridge was from the inside and marked that height on the outside of the fridge. This height works well, but it doesn't leave any room for the freezer door if you plan on using longer tap handles. Once the initial line was scribed on the fridge, I marked out the center and placement of my taps. I used a distance of 4 inches apart for the holes just in case I ever want to get fancy and get one of them stainless steel backsplashes with a drain tray or rinser. This fridge could probably hold about 5 or 6 taps total. Once you have your holes marked, the best thing you can do is find a big nail or awl and put a dent in the fridge where you want to drill your hole. This will act as a guide and prevent the drill from slipping and potentially Krugering your kegerator. Now the fun part, drilling the holes. Today I'm just doing 2 of them with plans for a few more at a later point in time. You'll notice that the hole saw creates a lot of friction with the sheet metal on the fridge. If I had been thinking, I would have used some oil to minimize the heat. Drill enough so the pilot bit goes just into the fridge so you can finish it off from the other side. A bit of smoke and a few sparks later and we can open the door. Here's an example of what happens when you drill the complete hole from the outside. Cracky cracky. It's smooth sailing from here. Take off the inner nut and push the shank into the hole. Screw the inner nut back on and tighten it as much as you can without breaking the plastic. An inner board might also benefit you at this point because you could get it much tighter if it had something to press against. Next, screw the Duotight fittings to the shanks. Tighten them up with a wrench, but be careful if you use a big ass wrench like this because it would be easy to strip the plastic nut. We're getting there. Time to make this thing look like a kegerator. Attach the taps hand tight at first, but then you want to use a spanner wrench if you have one to get that better fit. The wrench I used here was only about $10 at the local homebrew shop.
Here I'm installing two types of taps. The first one's an inner tap flow control tap, and the next one's just an inner tap standard chrome one. I haven't used the flow control tap a lot yet, but I'm not quite sold on it. Someday I might try to figure it out, but for now, save your money and buy the standard tap. Now that the taps are on, I'll be drilling a hole for my CO2. This part is not necessary, but there are a few benefits of having the tank on the outside of the fridge. It allows for easier changing of the tanks, more space in the kegerator, and it's much easier to change the pressure. I just leave long lines in the kegerator so that I can pull the kegs out without disconnecting. Having it outside the fridge also allows you to more quickly force carbonate a keg if that's what you're into. Also, since I've had my CO2 and regulator outside the fridge, I've dropped it a lot less when I pull a keg out of the fridge. As you can see here, it's a little bit easier to drill the hole than it is to put the hose through the hole. That's because you want to minimize the gap. Make sure you find a drill bit that's as close to the size of the hose as possible. I didn't do it, but you can also use some caulking or spray foam to seal it up after you put the hose through. It is now time to set up the CO2. We're going to put the regulator on, get your hand tight there, and make sure you get it good and tighten with the wrench. The only problem with these dual regulators is that they are kind of gigantic. Once that's all tightened up, we're going to get the Duotight fittings and screw them on. Again, to start with hand tight and give her a little tweak afterwards. And make sure you don't strip them because they are plastic, as mentioned earlier. This isn't the final hookup, but here's just a demo of how easy the Duotight is to use with the lines. You just push it in, seat it, it's sealed, airtight, and then you just push the Duotight fitting and pull at the same time, and it comes apart. Really easy to change. And here's the final hookup. It's a little bit awkward on top of the fridge there. Eventually I'll build a shelf for it, but for now, this gives you an idea of how easy it is.
For this 4mm hose, you're going to need about
4
feet of length in order to make the serving pressure and foam perfect. I don't know what actually makes it perfect, but the subbed-in voice will help me.
Kegerator.com/beerline calculator.
So, all you really need to do, push them in. Easy as that. Duotight is really the way to go for everything. Took 2 seconds. Got my hoses. Easy peasy.
Like I said before, I'm hooking up Sankey fittings, but you can do the same with the ball lock or pin lock connectors by getting the screw-on Duotight fittings. Screw the fitting to the coupler and attach the 8mm line to the fittings. As a super secret special awesome bonus, here's how to split your line for more kegs. Cut the line where you want it to split to add a 3-way fitting. Attach your CO2 lines and you're done. I highly recommend getting a tube cutter for any Duotight applications. When the lines are crooked, they may not seat properly and could lead to beer or CO2 leaks. It's pretty satisfying hooking up the beer to your new Kegerator. Don't worry about the video continuity here, but check out a pour. Feels so good pouring from your new Kegerator.
So, as you can see, the Kegerator pours. It works. It's a few months later, haven't been any real problems. One thing I might have see with the inner taps is that I need to get some sort of caps on them, because down here, pretty much outside to the elements, there are fruit flies everywhere. So you got to make sure you keep these nice and clean, but otherwise they do a great job. Yeah. And they pour beer. Beer is good, so I've heard. Yeah, beer's good. Still good, even after 2 drinks. Sips. Crap, noise is coming. Gotta switch to thoughts.
Yeah, that's beer all right. Wonder if people are going to be able to hear my thoughts. Who knows? Better finish this one off. The only thing that would really make sense would be to check out all the rest of the taps. Here's another one. It's been down here a couple months. Should be clear by now. Have a look at there. No, it's not clear. Have a look at this. Chances are, since I haven't poured it in a week or two, that a little bit of sediment went down there. Oh well. Might as well drink it. People can't hear my thoughts, so I mean, I'll probably tell them it's a delicious beer, but right now it's starting to get a little bit on the older side. Better flick out that foam and try another one. Best way to taste a beer is to make sure the foam from the previous beer is still in the cup. That way you get hints of all beer. Wow, the tap pours. Okay, that should be enough, and just kind of realizing that I poured too much. Oh well. Better drink it for the crowd. Yeah, I'm really gonna lie on this one. I've already had a couple, so who really knows? Yeah, that one probably shouldn't be hazy at this point either. It's been down there a few months. That's beer. That's still beer. Yeah. And yeah, it's beer still, but I think the video's getting kind of long, so I should probably just yeah, I'll just finish it. Okay, here it goes. Yeah, no problem. I'm the chug king of this room right now. Okay. It's pretty good. Yeah, that should be it. Good enough. Later!